this episode of Artsably in Conversation. My name is Diane Collin. This series presents artists, academics, and project leaders who dedicate their time and energy to a better accessibility for people with disabilities in the arts. You can find more of these conversations on our website, artsably.com, which is spelled artsably.com. Today, Artsably is in conversation with Kemal Gorey, who is a media composer and accessibility advocate living in Istanbul in Turkey. You can find the resources mentioned by Kemal Gorey during this episode on Artsably's website in the blog section. Welcome to this new episode of Artsably in Conversation. Today I am with Kemal Gorey, who is a media composer and accessibility advocate living in Istanbul in Turkey. Welcome, Kemal.
Thank you so much, Diane. It's great to be here, and your pronunciation is excellent.
Thank you. Okay, so I would like to start this episode by asking you about yourself, about who you are, what brought you to music, what brought you to being a media composer. So tell me more about you. Who are you, and what led you to music?
Yeah, as you said, I'm Kemal Görey. I'm a professional media composer, classical trained musician, identify as blind. And I think it's hard to say, Diane, what was my motivation, because I started this journey when I was 4, I assume, because my uncle, who is a singer and songwriter, who has a really accomplished rock band in my country, Turkey, he is one of the legends of the rock history in my country. So, and also my father is a guitar player. So I think I born into that environment. So there were always instruments, there were always music in the center of my family's daily life. And I think that habit, that environment shaped me because when I was a little kid, I remember that my two beloved go-to toys, favorite toys, let's say, is one of my father's guitar, which stands right behind of me, and the stereo, which I can play some music with it, with CDs and cassettes. Maybe the younger generations doesn't know what it means, but cassettes are the go-to medium for us to consume the music before all this Spotify thing, and also before the Napster. Nobody knows Napster. I'm a nerd. Sorry for that. Um, and my first how can I say, my first memory about music, that I was on the stage when I was 4 and singing a song of my uncle with my uncle's band in a really big concert area, with the crowd, everybody shouting the band's name, and I was singing the song when I was 4, and that was my very first experience as a professional and very first memory about my music journey. Then it all started with the piano lessons because I fell in love with piano, and I chose it as a career. With the When I was in high school, I went to Fine Arts High School in Turkey, and I moved on to the college, again Fine Arts, a music school. I've been always want to be a musician, and I've been always want to be a composer, a film composer actually. And I think I tell this story everywhere, but when I was a kid, and it was 90s, and the televisions are small, and the resolution is was a kind of a joke in 90s. So it was hard to me to catch every micro mimics gestures, because now we have this huge 4K screens with the really 10-bit record that footage and everything, but we don't have that in the past. So we didn't have that in the past. So uh, and when I was trying to catch the mimics or where the story will go, if I somehow miss a micro gesture or something, the score could help me to understand it, because score basically the music score translates the story to the music, which is a no-brainer. And but there's a secret function in it. It can serve as an accessibility feature, because let's say in a romantic scene, if the music gives a hint, let's say of a dark theme, it foreshadows something will happen bad in the short term, right? In the story. So if you couldn't get that from the picture, you can get that from the score, and that was my trusted guide when I was watching, because I'm visually impaired. Yes, I know I always say identify as blind because it sounds more clear to me, and I think done we shouldn't struggle too much with the terminology. It's not status. Yes, technically, scientifically, I'm visually impaired, but yeah, it's no big deal to say that I'm blind, because we are in the same universe as the visual disabled community. So that back to the topic, the film scores were my trusted guide, and I always wanted to be the one who creates that score with the whole orchestra and the all synths on the piano, with the piano, different instruments. And I have been always curious about learning different instruments, because I want to know, I want to understand how are they how they work, basically, how a violin works, how a trumpet works, or how a timpani works, even a vocal, because vocal also an instrument, most complicated one of the most complicated ones, and understanding the mechanics of the vocal, it's kind of tricky. So that's why, for example, I majored opera singing in college. Yes, I can sing some songs from the Mozart's Don Giovanni opera, or
Wow.
it's another story. So then, yeah, I went to college. It's a completely, let's say, tra um, training, education in Turkey can be really a challenge if you have a disability. Let's say it was, because I have an idea about the current situation, but I'm not experiencing it. Or that's why I would like to say that it was a great challenge if you want to be educated and if you have a disability in Turkey. So solving the problems, uh, inventing some methods, it becomes a daily habit for a disabled student, even when you were 6 or 7 years old. But in the end of the day, I, when I graduated from college, I knew what I wanted to do, but life had different plans for me. I worked as an active musician, a recording artist, uh, live musician, and also an arranger, a ghostwriter. In Turkey, I have done many things to be able to survive, to be able to build a career, build a life, a sustainable life. And at some point, I decided to make a shift in my career, and I decided to do what I really want to do.
Mhm.
And it's all about killing the what if person in your mind, because there's always a what if person. What if I'm not talented enough? What if um, I'm not professional or experienced enough? What if the things that I know is are all wrong? All if I'm all mistaken about myself. When you kill that personality in your mind, the what if guy, I would like to call it that way, then you can become anything you like because you the greatest barriers that we face, not the accessibility challenges, not the ableism, but this passive internalized ableism. It's what if that you build in your mind thanks to people's opinions about you, thanks to people how people treat you on daily basis. But when you kill that person, kill that character, kill that imagination in your mind, then it all wides open because there's no barriers then. Accessibility problems, yeah, I know that. I'm dealing with them since when I was a kid. Yeah, ableism, I know that too. I'm dealing with those also since when I was a kid. So these are not problems at all. Yes, these are important problems, but I know how to deal with them. I know how to fight with them. I only didn't know how to fight with that what if person in my head. Now I beat it. I can do anything I want because there's no barriers. So I decided to become a media composer. I decided to build a career in the States and in the Hollywood ultimately, and I am in that path right now.
So once you killed the what if in yourself, you stopped being a ghostwriter and you're a composer with the name that you're carrying right now.
Yeah, we can say it that way also, but I think if even if I know that I want to do something with my name, I don't think I will find any chance in Turkey as a media composer because I didn't specifically requested to be a ghostwriter. That was the only way that I can score music to a motion picture and get paid. That was the how can I say, that was the conditions for me in the past because they only offer me to be a ghostwriter because they somehow the production company is either ashamed or terrified to work with a composer with a visual disability because even they can't understand how can I sync the music to the picture. And even I say that, okay, I can see the picture. I have a full spectrum vision. Yes, I can see things while I'm walking because it's the part of retinal pigmentosa, part of the nystagmus. These are the medical conditions and has some effects on my eyes. So I can see properly, but which doesn't mean that I can work with a picture. Even a blind person can work with a picture. Maybe they can use a sight assistant or something, or they can basically use the script and time codes. Anything can possible. It's all about how we understand the matter. Do we need some? Are we open-minded or not? Do we need a great music to this picture or not? But the production companies in the past, maybe it's the situation is the same. I'm not sure. Uh, Always wondering to work with a person who's similar, who look familiar to them. Let's
Mhm.
put it that way.
So what was the triggering point? When did you decide, okay, I'm going to submit my own media music score and I'm going to compose for films and submit it?
Actually, you know what? It's two things has triggered me. First, I had a cataract surgery, and it was a high risky one. So there was a great chance that I lose all the sight. But I found a legendary surgeon, and he took care of the process without any problems. And that kind of things change your mentality. I survived that. I survived from that. So maybe I can do more in my life because I survived. It was highly stressful, but nothing bad happened. Maybe nothing bad happened in my career also. But ultimately, it all started a YouTube video. It was summer COVID, first year of the pandemic, and I was in the YouTube because that's what I do as a nerd. I will always search some better tutorial videos about music, sound technologies, media composition, and all that kind of stuff. I saw a video of a guy, a white American guy, who is the founder of a foundation called Able Artist Foundation, also says that he is also visually impaired and he's a professional media composer. And in the video, that said that okay, you can be a member of our foundation. Also, we have a contest. If you want to submit your music, we will review it and we will choose some of you as winners. Yeah, and that I think in that very moment, uh, I decided to change all my attitude because there's a person in the 10,000 miles away from my home who is a professional media composer who has a visual disability called retinitis pigmentosa. His name is Stephen Latness, and he is the CEO and founder of the Able Artists Foundation. And I decided to submit my track because I wasn't alone anymore. I'm not the only kind of my species. There are others. So I decided to submit my track and see what happens. In that moment, I decided to kill that what if person because, okay, there are more. I found my familiars now. I don't have to be alone. I don't have to craft my path. I can basically connect with them. I can basically find my community, which I always been seeking out. I submit my tracks, and 2 months later, I named as the grand prize winner, and it all started.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was 4 years ago, but still excited about it. Since then,
Still.
I'm the one who I'm one of the jury members. So
Okay, so what happened next? What happened after you won this contest?
Uh, actually, I've been talking with some of my friends about this, and I have another answer to that, but let me give you a brand new one. After that, actually, there was an interview with Stephen Latness, for the Able Artists Foundation's fundraiser, and the part of the prizes are um, most part of the prizes are the softwares, and I received some of the great compliments of the software, or let's say sound developers, sound set developers that I've been following in my entire life. So uh, and the uh, and the other prize is connecting with a library music publisher. That's what I was looking for by myself, and came to me. It came to me, and I submit some of my tracks to that publisher. We set an interview, we set a meeting, and they want to onboard all of my music.
Wow.
And okay, it, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to compose new music. They wanted to onboard my existing tracks. So it was great. So I sent it through. Then I started working some new music packs for that publisher, Hitlist Music. And I submitted some tracks. They decided to onboard them also. And then all started. Then I started jump into each opportunity that um, I see. The I rejected to say no to anything. It's the yes became the default answer for me. Hey, you want to do this? Yes. You want to be in this project? Yes. There's no, because there's no need to say no. There's no need to be hesitated. I know that I can do that. It was wasn't that stressful? Highly stressful. I always doubt myself because it's a part of being a musician. This relationship is toxic with music. You never can say that, okay, this sounds good. No matter if you're a concertist, an instrumentalist, a songwriter, a singer, a composer, it will be never done. As you perfectly know that it can't be good enough for us. Our work can't be good enough for ourselves. But I stopped worrying about that. then I started to think, okay, people, the reviewers, the client can say to me, it's not working. I do what I can do. I give my best. Then we'll see what will happen. Changing that mindset opens all the door to me, all doors for me.
In this interview with Stephen, you I'm always looking at what is happening behind the scene. How does a composer work? What is the details? How do you use your softwares and things like that? And you showed a pair of glasses with a telescope attached.
Mhm.
Can you explain how you use that?
Actually, it was my previous equipment. This is thanks to recent technological improvements. Now I switched to digital instruments, but for most time of my life, I've been using some kind of telescopes. It was an ugly one, I know, and it's another thing in the disability culture. The accessibility instruments are ugly. They should be able to design them more fancier, more fancy, and but they avoid to do that. Then we end up with using some ugly, ugly instruments, not designed that fancy, that sexy, you know. But I've been using that, and when you used to work with those telescopes, it become like one of your like a part of your body, but you always ended up keep moving your head because it's a tiny thing and you see the monitor in that part. You can see the general picture, but if you want to focus on something, you have to, if you want to, let's say, follow the mouse cursor, you have to use that telescope and you ending up moving your head, and it can cause a great headache in a let's say 6 hours of writing session, because you have headphones, studio level headphones, you have that considerably heavy telescopes, and you have to move your head all the time. Now I moved my head and I completely messed up with the microphone, sorry for that. Okay,
Technology.
maybe I could get a lavalier. Sorry.
So what's your digital version now?
Now, thanks to operating system developers, now we have great inbuilt magnifiers. These basically works as the telescopes, but these are digital, so resolution is really high. Also, you can shape the magnifier, the how big will be the frame, or you can be the full screen magnification if you want. You can switch between different modes, and basically it can attach to the mouse. So when you move your cursor, the magnifier will follows it. So it basically a digital frame in a virtual frame on your screen, on your computer screen, also, for example, on your tablet or phone. It's basically same. The Mac version is better. The magnifiers in Mac OS works better to me, also in iPhone and iPad, but it depends. I have many colleagues who feel more comfortable with Windows. Also, I've been a former Windows user for more than 30 years, so I can say that these digital magnifiers serves really well. Now I'm really excited about this new artificial not augmented reality glasses like the Apple Vision, Apple Pro Vision, and the Meta's new prototype Orion glasses. And basically, then we won't need a computer screen anymore. The augmented reality glass is will be able to create. It's still now that you can do it with the Apple Vision Pro. It basically creates a virtual screen as big as you want to, and in which position you want to. So you don't have to look a screen and hurt your neck. Practically, in theory, you can lay down and look at the ceiling, and the augmented reality glasses will create a screen on the ceiling as big as you want. So you will be able to use your magnifier features and everything, because it will be a computer screen in the end of the day. But it will be an other great invention, innovation for the visually impaired community, let's say. It will be also, there will be also use cases in the outside, a different story, but these kind of technologies, even though not focusing the blind community, or centralize the blind community, they are working on some accessibility features. Also, there are third-party companies that also can come up with features or software solutions to make our lives easier. But in my case, I basically use a digital magnifier and my mouse cursor, my keyboard. It's half conventional, half my way. I have blind friends who can use the DAW softwares, digital audio workstations, without touching the mouse. They are really great and faster than me, faster than the any other engineer or any other artist on the face of the earth, because they use the keyboard. They are really fast, really faster than me. I'm willing to learn that thing in the future, that method, that way of work. But most of the time, I do that.
So can you give us a feel of what projects you're working on right now? Do you have some interesting work on the go?
Yeah, of course, I have something that I can tell you right now, but there are things also I can tell. NDAs can be a pain in the neck. So most recently, last week, the first guide dog documentary of my country, Turkey, has premiered in the TRT Documentary Awards. It's a Turkey radio and television. You can think it as the equivalent of BBC. And also they have an interesting relationship with BBC, also kind of a partnership. Uh, it's the first of its kind. Also, I'm really excited about it because first, my lovely guide dog Blut, I forgot to mention about her, and that's why she will give me such a hard time because she's a drama queen. So let's mention about her right now, and it's real. It's real. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. She's a real drama queen. I cannot be able to hug anybody anymore because she doesn't
Oh.
allow me to do that. So it's the first of its kind, and my lovely guide dog Blut was the star of the first episode, and I was the composer of that series. So we premiered the TRT premiered the first episode, and it was the most interesting one, and they had the most attention in the documentary awards. So, and the more important thing is, yes, it's the first Turkey's first guide dog documentary. Yes, I think I've been the TRT's first blind composer in TRT's history. They hired me for this documentary series, and it was the first time for them too. So it was a historic moment for TRT, I guess. So, but the most importantly, they make the storytelling, make the narration prioritizing disability justice. And it's also a first thing happened in my country because there are some documentaries about disability culture which are inaccurate, I think completely ableist, and has a wrong narration about the disability because they're not prioritizing disability justice. They don't know the concept, the term disability justice at all. But this is a documentary use the correct terminology, correct language, correct narration, and has the quality of disability justice, carries the quality of disability justice. And I consulted them to fine tune the narration, the voiceovers, and all cinematography and narration. And they were kind enough to listen me, accept my inputs, and that's why I'm so excited because now we have a documentary about guide dogs in Turkey. It can be it's a 2024 documentary. If that documentary produced in the States, in the Canada, the narration uh, can't be better than that. So that's one of my great honors. There's a documentary produced in my country with a correct narration, language, and which prioritize the disability justice.
Plus, you told me that guide dogs are recent in Turkey, right?
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Well, you say of course because you live in Turkey. But some people who are listening to us or watching this this interview today, they must say, "What? But I thought guide dogs were existing since I don't know, 10 years, 15 years." But it's important to say that Turkey now you have a few families, including you, having a guide dog, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it's a brand new thing. We always, uh, the blind society, the blind community always wanted to have guide dogs as our accessibility partners. But we have a stray dog situation in Turkey. It's kind of different. Actually, we have the least dog and cat population in Europe territory. But the uh, dog and cat owning rates are pretty low. So most of our dogs and cats live on street, which is a shame for my country and for my people because the dogs are cats are not comfortable on streets. They need their families. They need families. They need houses. They need medical. Um, they need health care. They need medical attention. But because we have stray dogs, a lot of stray dogs in Turkey, the default paradigm was we can't have guide dogs because we have stray dogs. We have a lot of stray dogs in Turkey. But it turns out stray dogs are not a problem at all because they know that our guide dogs are service animals and our trainers can fine tune our guide dogs' attitudes and behavior when they see or when they face with a stray dog. So our guide dogs can use the diplomacy to get out of the situation. And most of the time, stray dogs do their own thing. Not, they're not really interested with us. So in 10 years, the program is 10 years old now, I guess. We have 9 guide dogs on duty, and most interestingly, 4 of them was in the documentary awards for the premiere. It was really great because the guide dog program is new and because we have a stray dog situation in Turkey, uh, there's a lack of awareness when it comes to guide dogs because as you know, we can go to restaurants, hospitals, theaters, we can onboard to aircrafts and everywhere with our guide dogs. But the good people of my country still struggling with that fact. How should they handle it? Actually, the community support is great. If you ask the people on street, they all love guide dogs. They are fascinated and they're so excited that we have guide dogs, and they would love to see us in everywhere, restaurants, theaters, planes, I don't know, subways, buses, everywhere, in hospitals. But the owners or employees of that facilities are struggling to understand that they have to allow us in their environment, in their facility, their business. So it became a battle on daily basis because there's a lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, and lack of awareness, but and which makes us a natural ambassadors of guide dogs. We are doing that. We're doing that work as public figures because we have to um, shape the mindset of the society if we want to access to the places like everybody do. But it's getting better. The situation was worse even 2 years ago and getting better. One thing about my what about one thing about Turks, yes, we can be spectacle. We can insist to do not understand things if something conflicts with our cultural knowledge. I'm not talking about everybody. Let's say for the society itself, culturally, but we are quick adapters and quick learners. If somehow someone managed to tell us the situation correctly, and if we decide to be open-minded, then we can become a quick learner because or a practical thinker. That's the thing about my my people, I know that there are also problems in Greece because the culture are pretty identical with Greece and Turkey. We have a lot of we have a lot common, but also there are quick learners. I believe in the future, the situation will be better. We need to be more, let's say, we need to be more productive as the blind community and do our ambassador work as well. But yeah, I know it sounds a little bit weird because Turkey is the only country, I guess, don't have a equivalent of ADA, even though the Turkey is the party of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities. But these are the problems, and problems can be solved.
So what about the impact of that on the arts? What is, for you, what does it mean, accessibility in the arts in that context, or disability culture? Because that's something we might talk about. I will ask you, we are both part of RAMPT,
Yeah, of
and
course.
in RAMPT, we have this discussion about disability culture, and we have this notion of accessibility in the arts, which is already difficult in the United States, as you know, because you work there too, and also because of your connections with RAMPT, which I will ask you a little bit more about that.
Of course.
But as before that, this impact of the fighting for better accessibility in Turkey, how is it represented in the arts?
Actually, there are some presentation in the arts, but in Turkey, this situation is a little bit different. We have a different, let's say, there's a documentary, Crip Camp, nominated to the Oscars a couple of years ago, directed by Jim LeBrecht, who is a director identified as disabled also. In Crip Camp, the disabled citizens of the United States were fighting for the Rehabilitation Act, which rejected by Nixon. And his words are, and I quote, "It will be too expensive to rehabilitate the places for the disabled citizens." And honestly, they didn't earn that. They didn't have enough contribution to the society financially. That was the Nixon's words. And the Disability in Action started. They fought for their rights, and then the Nixon had to sign the act, Rehabilitation Act. So in Turkey, the situation is different. So in America, in the States, a president can stand up and say that, okay, I won't give anything to the disabled citizens because they're to me, they are not paying enough taxes, which is ridiculous. Because did they provided enough employment opportunity to the disabled citizens? Did they provided the accessible education environment to the disabled citizens? But even though they didn't do any of those things, the president can stand up and say, okay, we won't do this rehabilitation thing because it's expensive. I don't want to spend that money to the disabled citizens because they do not deserve it. But in the end of the day, they had to, because the disabled citizens, the citizens with disabilities, make their cases pretty hard. In Turkey, the situation is different. We are, maybe it's being East because, for example, being in the East, it's the Eastern culture. You can see the same similar reactions or similar practices in, for example, in China or in Japan. For example, in China, people always live in multi-generation houses. In Turkey, most of the people do the same thing. From an American perspective, it's really weird, right? You live with your grandma, grandpa, your father, mother, some couple of brothers and sisters in the same house. A multi-generation house, it's really different. And in those houses, they became excessively overprotective if there is a disabled child in the house. So the attitude, the common practice is, okay, we can do anything and everything on your behalf. You don't have to do anything. You are the king. We do anything for you. But okay, but this person have to be trained, have to learn how to read and write, have to learn a lot of things, be a undergrad diploma certificate, right? Be a bachelor certificate, have a bachelor certificate, have a profession, has a profession. But no, 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 we can do anything. We can brush your teeth, even we can brush your teeth. We don't teach you to do anything. We can do it on your behalf until we will die. What's the purpose of that? I can't see. But that's the cultural phenomenon. Our mothers always, okay, I can iron your clothes, I can wash your clothes, I can even give you a bath, take you because you're disabled. No, teach me how to do that. I was one of the rare lucky ones that my family uh, has a pretty good understanding about everything because they are college educated parents, and they are connected with the rest of the world, and they understand the importance of accessibility. Thanks to my supporting mom and dad, yes, they made mistakes because they are the only ones fighting for my accessibility rights. They are the only ones trying to learn everything, and it's simply impossible to learn everything without a specialist's, without an expert's help. But they managed to do all of these things with their knowledge, and I become who I am today. And there are some rare examples also who become successful, productive, and respected members of the community. But the numbers are low. We cannot talk about statistics. Okay, we have that amount of high educated disabled citizens. This is the rate for unemployment or underemployment. We can't talk about that because the Turkish still try to protect their children. They even don't know uh, what they're protecting their children from. But they are learning because now, thanks to Gen Z and thanks to internet and social networks, now we connected to the world, all of us. We have access to the knowledge. We have access to the different cultures, different vantage points, different perspectives. So it's completely different thing. In Ramped, in America, in the States, uh, individualism is the key, and we at Ramped we try to force the interdependency, not independency, but interdependency, because we need each other as a community, as a society. You can, for example, you can sing well. I can write great songs, but I can't sing. So if you can perform the songs that I created, then maybe we can create the next hit of Spotify.
Deal. When do we do that? Tomorrow?
Of course, my tomorrow is open.
So when did you start with Ramped? And I know you have an important role in Ramped right now. Everybody has an interconnected role, as you were saying. But thanks to people like you and people who are leading us to some paths, we are making it even better. So can you talk about your role in Ramped?
Yeah, of course. I'm also at Ramp. Yes, I have an important role, but I'm just a student of Ramped. I'm learning because Ramped has a pretty unique culture, let's say, commercial culture or a professional culture, and a unique approach and vantage point when it comes to accessibility and disability justice, and also disability culture. Also, my story started with Ramped last year, and it was an amazing moment for me because uh, I've been following the Ramp since it's first founded and made their first launch event. But you have to have some decent career successes if you want to be a pro member. Not decent, but you have to have you are in the way of building your career. So the partnership or membership committee, sorry, reviews your application, then you can become a pro member or not. Luckily, last year I became a pro member and I jumped into the PR committee because, as I told, no is not an answer for me anymore. I always say yes. Okay, now I have chance to a member of committees. Okay, I jumped into PR committee because there that I think that I can make some contributes. And one one month later, I became the co-chair of the PR committee because yeah, we don't have a lot of members in the PR committee, but we build it together with Laci, Marsha, Mark and Marcarelli, Marsha Els, Laci, and our brilliant content lead Sal. Uh, Salvador, we started building that PR committee and we come up with created projects uh, at Ramped. So it became a cool guy. It became the cool guys table at Ramped right now. You can call it on me. So and in 1 year, because I had chance to spend a lot of times with Lachi, thanks to PR committee. I learned more about RAMP and disability culture and disability justice. So then I want to be part of the leadership because I want to be a decision maker because of my huge personality and, as Lachi say, because I'm a tyrant, you know. And I always have evil plans. So that always uh, these are Lachi's opinions. I don't know if these are accurate or not. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I became then I ran for the elections for the secretary role. Then I became the secretary, and the Marsha Els from the PR committee became the vice president. We ran to the elections together, and without knowing that we're running, and we voted to each. I gave my vote to Marsha, and she gave her vote to me, and the RAMP members voted us, and we became the part of the leadership. And now I have a more important role, and it's getting more serious because now I have a responsibility because I'm representing the all members, and I have to be an example because fighting with the accessibility and building a career at the same time is a delicate situation, as you perfectly know. Uh, if yes, some parts are protected by the law, and you can always uh, turn people in. You can always use the legal system to get your rights. But is that the only way doing it? Or is that the most, let's say, efficient way to do it? Because in the end of the day, you want to build a career. You want to make friends, not make more enemies. Yes, you are right. You're fighting for a good reason, but if is that efficient really? So you making those decisions, deciding what to do is pretty tough time to time. And Ramped try to bridge that gap because we provide consultation to the big organizations like Recording Academy, Grammys, who organize create who runs the Grammys,
Yes.
Live Nation, companies like Netflix, Sony Pictures, and more and more. So because we're providing consulting to them because they want to be more accessible, and Ramp can provide that knowledge to them how they can be accessible, and Ramp can be a bridge between the disabled artists and fans and these huge venues and organizations who run the entertainment industry and also the companies like Netflix, streaming platforms like Netflix, and more. And using the diplomacy channels, uh, co- providing knowledge, providing our expertise to them. First, make them more accessible, also change their mindsets
Mhm.
of these big organizations. They start thinking, okay, being accessible is a crucial thing. It should be the default. So, and Ramped created it. Ramped created that mindset in the industry, and we're still creating it. It will be a long journey. It will be a marathon. It's a marathon right now, but as a member of leadership, when you face with the situations, you have to be two times careful because I'm not representing myself anymore. I am representing RAMPT. I'm representing the leadership. I'm representing the members, and I have to be an example to them. Well, in our town halls or when I collaborating with some pro members of RAMP, because RAMP is a, as you know, RAMP is a great ecosystem. You can start a project from an idea to the red carpet by only working with the brilliant members of RAMP. As you know, you are one of these brilliant members of ramp. Also, I have some friends. Also, I met with some remarkable talents like Mark Aureli has also an episode in Art Sabely. Uh, we have to make an example because we have also community members who are just started creating their careers and they're struggling too. It's hard. It's a fight of every day. And we also, as the members of leadership, time to time terrified, frustrated because of the situation. But as the member of leadership of RAMPT, as the secretary, I know that I can solve it. I know that I can use the diplomacy because I'm trained to do that. Uh, as a natural born problem solver, out of the box thinker, as a natural born diplomat. I know solve the problems. I know bridging the gaps. And I'm as a resourceful person, I can gap those bridges, gap those bridge those gaps by myself. Sorry. And English is not my native language, as you can guess. So be merciful. Uh, but that's the thing. It can be really tricky time to time because you also have a career and you face with the difficulties on daily basis. But as a media composer, I can work from my cave, from my island, as Lachi said, time to time, our fearless leader. Uh, but also as a musician, as someone who attends to the premieres or festivals, yeah, there are some inaccessible stuff. Most of the things so taking care of my lovely guide dog, beloved guide dog Blut. But Blut means cloud in English. But it still can be tricky. It's still be fight. It's a still fight. But as far as I know, that we are the architects of the future as a disabled community, and we can design the future. We are the correct futurists because we are the natural born inventors, natural born problem solvers. So that makes us natural architects, natural futurists, because we have been building our future. Nobody helped us. We are the ones who are helping ourselves. Now we became together thanks to organizations like RAMPT, and we connect with each other thanks to projects like Art Ably. Uh, and thanks to those projects, organizations, these platforms, since we became together and we start creating together, when we start creating together, we can show the industry and into the world, see, we are all disabled professionals and we create some top level works of the industry.
And also the fact that being here, being present, being a part of the picture, and having these conversations with these people in order to have this the change of mindset happen. This is really, really important. And I think RAMP does it very well because I remember having this conversation at the very beginning of RAMP when Lachi was there. I have a bling bling cane, and I have these big dresses, and all the eyes are coming to me. And then suddenly the conversation happens. I love it. It's really like, okay, so now let's talk. What do you do for disabled folks who are also in the arts? Okay, let's talk now.
Yeah, of course. I'm thankful to Lachi for she is being Lachi because, for example, I understand that attitude, that mindset since I have a guide dog. Because now I have before I partnered with my lovely guide dog Blut, and I have glasses and I didn't use cane. People really don't get what I am.
Uh-huh.
didn't get what I am. Because sometimes they say, "Ah, you look normal," whatever normal means. Or people, when people crash on me or hits me accidentally, they blame me because I wasn't careful enough. But oh, okay, I'm visually impaired, dude. Chill, relax, you know. But since I partnered with my guide dog, it's obvious. There are signs on my guide dog, and obviously she leads me into the venue, into the neighborhood, to the neighborhood, and then okay, you know, I have a guide dog, as you can see, uh, which means I'm visually impaired or blind. So let's start talking. Most of the time in Turkey, people thinks that my dog can't see and I am handling her. I'm taking care of her, even though the sign clearly stands that I'm blind. She's not. And but still people asking, ah, your dog can't see. Why? No, she can see. I can't. Then I say that, ah, I didn't get that. You look normal. No, I'm not. And you're not too. There's no such thing called normal.
What's normal? Can you define normal for me, please?
And yeah, I ask, what's normal? Then the conversation ends. See you. Because yeah, with a smile and shaking hands, okay, waving hands, okay, see you then. It's a great to meet with you and your dog who is blind. No, dog can't see. I am blind. And one
Uh,
time, a family approached me and asked that question: Who of them can't see? They asked the question not me, but not to my girlfriend. And she used to those kind of situations, and she keeps silent when they have to direct their question to me, but they directed their question to someone else. She got silent, and I say it depends. Some days I being blind. Some days my dog. Mondays and Wednesday I'm blind. Tuesdays and Thursday she is.
what was the reaction?
uh, they scared and go away because I think they took it seriously.
Oh, stop scaring people. Come on.
Yeah. I think they terrified. They realized that I'm a part of an alien species, a member of an alien species. Oh, now they can see Mondays and Wednesdays, but the other days, oh my God.
Okay, I have a last question for
Of
you.
course.
And it's about people who you might have met who count in your career and you who have maybe motivated you, maybe showed you things that you didn't know before. If you have one or two people to name, who would it be and why?
We already mentioned about Lachi. I've been learning a lot from Lachi, and I'm still learning. Also, all members of the leadership and the of Ramped and the team Ramped, Arthur, Anya, and Sal. I'm learning a lot from them also, and all the pro members, our members of the committees. Um, these are the people that I would like to shout out. But there's one person I would like to highlight. His name is Stephen Latness, founder and CEO of Able Artists Foundation. As I think I mentioned about him in this before in this episode. He's my mentor, colleague, and dear friend. Uh, he made the greatest impact to my life and career because without this foundation, I won't have a career in the United States. Without himself, I won't some IMDb credits till now. He was kind of a guy that pretty, let's say, mature, um, extremely talented, wise, and also really how can I say, an excellent professional. I've been learning a lot from him how to handle business relations, how to handle projects. He hired me for a couple of projects. I was able to work as a composer assistant and the additional music writer in a couple of projects like Surpassing Sight or Possibilities, produced by AFB, directed by Bill Serene, American Foundation for the Blind. And it was a great documentary. And also, I was able to work as the co-composer in a project with him, Love and Taxes. It's a feature comedy, romantic comedy film. Uh, and also, without him, I don't have connections with publishing companies. Without him, I won't have music onboarded with Hitlist Music. So, and without that, the Mattel won't sync my music for the world's first blind Barbie doll campaign and world first black Barbie doll birthday. And also, without that, I wasn't able to meet with the Karina Sturm, a German journalist and director, also identify as disabled. And now we're working together in a documentary about intersectionality in disability culture and disability justice. Without him, maybe I will have some accomplishments. I don't know, but without him, I can't achieve them that fast, and without him, I can't be able to build a career and build a professional character of a media composer. Yeah, we're still uh, working together. Now I became a board member of Able Artist Foundation most recently. He was kind enough to invite me to the board. And I think I am the first board member who was a former foundation member, Able Artist Foundation member. So Steve has the greatest impact in my career, in my life. I learned how to be a I've learned how to be yes, I can say, a, a professional media composer with disability, with a visual disability from him. So I can't be thankful enough for his efforts and for his friendship and mentorship. Yeah,
Thank you so
that I
much.
can say.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and also it's full of connections, your world, your life. And it's great to be able to have one foot in the States and to be able to do things in the industry over there, and make the things evolve in Turkey. So yeah, very well done.
Oh, thank you so much, Dan. I'm really try to create a world that I really want to live in. So with my music, with my attitude, with my opinions, and with trying to affect people and affect the culture of the society. But we all doing that. You doing that. All our members, RAMP members, doing that. There are disabled professionals in different industries. They are doing that. We are a really big community, and we have a really great family in Ramped. So, yes, it's a community, but some time to time, I feel like we are like a family because we're helping each other. Not say helping, but um, connecting with each other, collaborating, and we become bigger and better. So I'm thankful, highly thankful for our community, for the ramped, for all members of the disability community itself, because we are the bravest ones. We are the most powerful ones. That's why we are that we will be we will be successful a lot in the
Yeah,
future.
and proud to fight. It's really that we are happy to fight together, which is
Yeah, of
great.
course. Also, I love the taste of blood, so I can't say that. So sorry. I didn't say that as a member of the leadership, but I say as
Oh,
a media composer in Turkey. So I never run away from a great fight. So and that's what we do as the in the disability community, right? We never run away from a great fight.
true. Well, thank you so much for all your insight and stories, and it was really fascinating. And I wish you a fantastic day and talk soon.
Thank you so much, Diane. Thank you so much inviting me for this amazing conversation. And I hope you have an amazing day too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.